Well, I better get going. Your show's almost on.
It's officially overtime.
Sounds like a freak of nature to me.
Yeah, can't wait to meet him.
Overtime with Lee Patterson, the only live local radio sports talk show in the Gila Valley.
The following program is closed captioned for the thinking impaired.
And now, here's your host for Overtime, Lee Patterson.
Is it that hard to turn the knobs?
Well, hello, and welcome to Overtime. I am Lee Patterson. Thanks for joining us. After a couple of weeks off, because Diamondbacks, that is why we've been off the air. We've had a couple of people ask me why we haven't been on, but that is why. The Arizona Diamondbacks have been playing at 12 o'clock, 11:10 in the Midwest as they have ended the season. So we are back on Overtime. We're going to catch you up on rankings, football. We've got volleyball. We've got Eastern Arizona College. And speaking of Diamondbacks, if everything works out correctly, we're going to go live to Milwaukee later in the show and talk to Brad Cesmat of Sports 360 AZ, who's out there covering the series. And we'll get you all caught up with today's Diamondbacks game. If the Diamondbacks win today, they win the wild card series, and then they will head to play the Dodgers. So we'll see where that all leads us to. But first, let's get to the scores from last week. We'll start with 3A football. Page beat Ganado 46-6. ALA Ironwood beat Crisman 38-13. Florence over Borgade Catholic 63-0. Blue Ridge beat Fountain Hills 48-21. Odyssey Institute beat Kofa out of Yuma 42-6. Coolidge beat La Jolla 48-14. Monument Valley beat Chinle 28-0. ALA West Foothills beat Paradise Honors in a big upset 49-48. Round Valley over Payson 7-3. Sabino beat Push Ridge 40-27. Benjamin Franklin beat Tempe 49-6. Thatcher shut out Sholo 41-0. Valley Christian beat Gilbert Christian 42-27. And Dysart beat Yuma 50-27. And in our game of the week last week, it was Safford over Morenci 26-14 in a really good football game. It was Safford shut out Morenci in the second half. Their defense was really solid last week. Safford's was. And that has been kind of an Achilles heel for them this year, is the defensive side of the football. They've been able to score with everybody, but they hadn't been able to shut people down. They were able to do that Friday night against Morenci and did enough offensively to be able to get the win. It was the passing game with Jojo Ruelas, and Chris Chateau was the beneficiary of 5 catches for 154 yards and 2 touchdowns. He also led the team with 11 tackles on defense. So he had a big night. He was my player of the game Friday night. And then they've got a short week. They find out this week that their game has been moved to Thursday. We'll talk about that. But if you're just finding this out, the Safford versus Round Valley game is being played tomorrow night at Safford High School, not Friday night. So that was a big win. It was almost, I don't like the term must win, but it was as close to that as possible for Safford because they needed one to stay in the playoff hunt with 4 weeks left, and they did that. All right, let's take a look at the 2A scores from last week. Last Thursday night, Holbrook beat Gray Hills 49-0. Santa Cruz beat Heritage Academy Levine 32-14. Peñon over Red Mesa 28-14. And Arizona Lutheran Academy beat Trivium Prep 67-15 in Thursday night games. On Friday in the 2A, Miami over Alchese 20-18. Arete Prep beat NFL Yet 48-0. Shadow Mountain beat Coronado 60-0. Highland Prep beat Catalina 52-26. Hopi over Valley Sanders 42-14. Glendale Prep beat Kingman Academy 23-8. Cortez beat Mountainside 42-0. Benson over Palo Verde 54-6. Tonopah beat Parker 26-23. Camp Verde over Phoenix Christian 35-15. Pima shut out ALA Anthem South 62-0. St. John's over San Carlos 60-0. Antelope beat San Pasqual 56-0. Santan Charter got the forfeit win over Sequoia Pathways after they have dropped their program for the rest of the year. Scottsdale Prep beat Chandler Prep 65-18. Globe over St. John Paul II 40-22. Tanca Verde shut out Tombstone 31-0. Scottsdale Christian beat Veritas Prep 51-12. And Bisbee outlasted Wilcox 30-28. 1A football scores from last week. El Capitan over Monticello, Utah 34-21. Baba Kivri beat Desert Height Prep 64-46. Baghdad over Salome at 25-18. Hayden with the forfeit win over Cibicu. Rock Point and El Capitan was canceled. They've both played different teams. Anthem Prep beat Mayer 50-0. Mogollon beat Fredonia 44-14. Mojave Accelerated beat North Phoenix Prep 48-8. Ray over Duncan 36-16. San Manuel beat St. David 16-14. That's a big win for San Manuel. Cicero Prep over Superior 44-0. Lincoln Prep beat Tempe Prep 50-8. Valley Union on homecoming beat Fort Thomas 52-24 with 5 defensive touchdowns in that game. Williams over Joe City 78-32. That brings us to this week's rankings after last week's games. And let's start at the 8-man level. Hayden, one of 2 undefeated teams in 8-man. They are 6-0. They sit number 1. Baghdad is number 2. The other undefeated team in 1A is Cicero Prep. They are 5-0, sitting number 3. Salome is 4th. El Capitan is 5th. Mojave Accelerated is 6th. Mogollon 7th. San Manuel 8th. Williams 9th. Lincoln Prep is 10th. St. David 11. And Maryville Prep is 12 right now. And if I remember correctly, that's the number that 1A takes to the state playoffs is 12. Right now, Duncan sits 19th and Fort Thomas sits 22nd in the 1A rankings coming into this week. 2A football rankings, only 2 undefeated teams left in 2A as well. Pima, number 1 overall, is 6-0. Arizona Lutheran, also 6-0. They are number 2. Santan Charter is 3rd. Scottsdale Christian is 4th. Tanca Verde 5th. Veritas 6th. Camp Verde 7th. Tonopah 8th. Santa Cruz 9th. Chandler Prep 10. Phoenix Christian is 11. Scottsdale Prep 12. Cortez is 13th. Bisbee is 14th. Parker is 15th. And Tombstone sits 16th right now. Those would be the teams that make it into the playoffs if the season ended right now. The other thing that's a little bit, I wouldn't say concerning, but hopefully changes over the next 3 or 4 weeks of the 2A season. Pima's number 1 and Scottsdale Christian is number 4. I think that is everybody's state championship game, kind of penciled in. But right now, if that stayed the same, those two would play each other in the semifinals. Pima and Scottsdale Christian, and Arizona Lutheran and Santan Charter would be the other semifinal if the seeding held 1 through 4 right now. But Tanca Verde's looming out there at number 5. That's who Scottsdale Christian would have to play coming into the second round. Everybody in the top 9, there's 3 teams in the top 9 with 2 losses. Everybody else only has 1 loss. So there's some teams out there still, but so far I've not seen Arizona Lutheran this year, but we did see that Pima Scottsdale Christian game, and they are the second best team I've seen this year in 2A behind Pima. But Pima's going to hold the rest of their schedule. Their region schedule is in strength of schedule low. So they should be fine going into the playoffs. They should be healthy. But they, if the season ended now, if they did 116, it would be Tombstone who came to town. So we'll see. We'll see how that shakes out the rest of this season. 3A rankings coming into this week. Mojave number 1, only undefeated team, undefeated team in 3A, the Mojave Thunderbirds. Raise your hand if you saw that coming this year. Yeah, I didn't think so. The Mojave Thunderbirds undefeated in number 1. Valley Christian at number 2. ALA West Foothills at number 3. Paradise Honors at number 4. Sabino sits 5th. Florence is 6th. Push Ridge 7th. Blue Ridge is 8th. River Valley number 9. Benjamin Franklin number 10. Thatcher is 11th. Gilbert Christian 12. Morenci sits at 13. Safford is at 14. Winslow 15. And Payson at 16. That would be the top 16 teams to get into the playoffs if the season ended now. Thatcher's put themselves in a pretty good position. They're sitting 3-3. They have the most losses in the top 11. But they, because of their strength of schedule, are at number 11 this week. And have a big meeting with Sabino, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. But Mojave's rating is a full 1.5 ahead of Valley Christian's. But I don't know enough about Mojave to know if they're the real deal. I know they have scored a ton of points against the opponents they've played this year. That's all I can tell you about Mojave. We've seen Valley Christian, ALA West Foothills. We've seen Paradise Honors. I've seen Sabino and Florence. Have not seen Push Ridge. They just had their first loss against Sabino. So we have seen Blue Ridge. Blue Ridge at number 8 beat Morenci by 3. Beat Safford by 1 on a night when Safford had 8 turnovers. So that tells me I think it's open in 3A, right? I mean, that's kind of what that tells me right there is that is open. That 3A is going to be fairly open this year. Let's look at the 3A football matchups this week with rankings next to them. On Thursday night, number 15 Winslow is at number 26 Chin Lee. Number 30 Fountain Hills is at number 29 Sholo. Number 17 Round Valley at number 14 Safford. Again, Safford hovering right there in the playoffs right now. A win over Round Valley would be huge. Round Valley on the outside looking in right now. They need a win. That's going to be a big game tomorrow night. We'll be there to broadcast it here on KATO 1230 AM and GilaValleyCentral.net. Open Loop Energy pregame show at 6:45. Kickoff at 7 o'clock over from Bulldog Stadium. Should be a really good game. Other 3A games on Friday night. Number 32 Yuma is at number 3 ALA West Foothills. Number 2 Valley Christian at number 36 Bourgade Catholic. Number 24 Chino Valley at number 24 Kingman at number 35 Chino Valley. Number 37 Kofa at number 19 Dysart. Number 27 Monument Valley at number 31 Ganado. Number 25, Wickenburg, is at number 1, Mojave. Number 4, Paradise Honors at number 20, Odyssey Institute. Another big game, number 13, Morenci is at number 7, Push Ridge. Number 11, Thatcher at number 5, Sabino. Number 22, Coolidge at number 28, Santan Foothills. And number 23, Page at number 34, Window Rock. 2A football this week. Number 46, San Carlos at number 42, ALA Anthem South. Number 22, Antelope at number 2, Arizona Lutheran. Number 13, Cortez at number 7, Camp Verde. Number 17, Glendale Prep at number 29, Highland Prep. Number 6, Veritas Prep at number 15, Parker. Number 23, Benson is at number 11, Phoenix Christian. Number 25, Globe comes to Pima to take on number 1, Pima. Number 3, Santan Charter, and number 9, Santa Cruz Valley. That game right there can switch up that 1 through 4 in the 2A ranking that we were talking about. If Santa Cruz beats Santan Charter, everything might even back out. But if Santan holds on to win that one, I think we're going to see those funky 2A semifinals. Number 12, Scottsdale Prep is at number 4, Scottsdale Christian. Number 24, Miami is at number 20, St. John's. Number 31, Catalina is at number 16, Tombstone. And number 5, Tanca Verde is at number 27, Wilcox. 1A football this week on Friday night. Number 2, Baghdad at number 17, Anthem Prep. Number 21, North Phoenix Prep at number 20, Desert Heights. Number 15, Valley Union is at number 19, Duncan. And a big top 4 matchup. Number 3, Cicero Prep is at number 1, Hayden. Number 16, Superior at number 10, Lincoln Prep. Number 6, Mojave Accelerated is at number 4, Salome. Number 13, Ray, is at number 8, San Manuel. And number 22, Fort Thomas, is at number 11, St. David. And I post these on my social media every week, the history of the series. And this week, we've done the same, but we'll talk about them on the show today as well. Round Valley and Safford first met in 1985. I believe it was in the 85 playoffs. Round Valley leads the series 3-1. I had to look over the archives like 5 times because I feel like Safford has played Round Valley more than that in my tenure here, but it just is not in the archives. I know they've scrimmaged each other a ton, and that might be what's in my brain, but only 4 previous meetings between Round Valley and Safford, and they will meet for the 5th time this week. And same with Morenci and Push Ridge. Only one other beating, 2009, in the state playoffs. Push Ridge with a win over Morenci in their only other meeting. Thatcher and Sabino, the 3rd ever meeting. The first 2 were the last 2 seasons. Thatcher has outscored Sabino 80-35 in their 2 meetings. And Thatcher might be the only team that Ryan McBriar at Sabino hasn't beat in his tenure at Sabino. This one is kind of cool. Globe and Pima first played in 1938. Globe was 5-0 in their meetings until 1946. And then they didn't meet again until the year 2022 when Pima won. That's kind of cool. I mean, that's the kind of stuff I look for when I do these, when I dive into these series. Valley Union and Duncan are the closest. Duncan leads the series 14-12. This series first started in 1976, and a 14-12 lead in the series for Duncan. And this one surprised me that Fort Thomas and St. David first met in 1951. And this is the 62nd meeting between these two in high school football. St. David owns the overall series 43-16 and 1 tie. That's a lot of football. 1951, Fort Thomas and St. David have played since then. We're going to take a break here on Overtime. When we come back, hopefully we'll have Brad Cesmat from Sports 360 AZ live from Milwaukee, Miller Park, to preview the Diamondbacks tonight against the Milwaukee Brewers in Game 2 of the National League Wild Card. Coming back right after this. Welcome back to Overtime. I am Lee Patterson. Thanks for joining us today on this Wednesday. We'll call it Diamondbacks Wednesday. That sounds fun. And that leads us right into our guest today. Joining me now live from Milwaukee, Brad Cesmat. Brad, are you with us?
Lee, how are you?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm in a lift. Valerie, the driver, is great. She's rocking out. I'm heading to Miller Park, see if the Diamondbacks can win. It's the glamorous life of broadcasting, my friend. You know all about it.
The hurry up and wait of the day. People are going, wait, the game doesn't start till 4. Yes, this is the time you usually get to the ballpark on game day. Speaking of game days, I feel like as a longtime fan of the Diamondbacks were able to steal one last night without using either their top 2 starters on the mound, and that sets them up perfectly.
You know, Lee, I thought last night beforehand, Torey Lovullo was talking about guys like Evan Longoria, veteran, 37 years of age, an old dude by that standard, and how he felt like he was going to be able to produce for them, and then the nerves of Brandon Pfaadt. And you look at the Diamondback starting pitcher, yeah, he was nervous early, and he wasn't very good. He was erratic, but he then struck out the final 3 to end the inning. And you look at that and say, you know what, when Brandon Pfaadt's in year 2024, 2025, 2026, he'll have gone through this stuff. So I thought it was a growing up moment for him. And then Longoria's defense last night was amazing for the old man on the team and how well he played. And the bullpen coming in and giving him 6 in the 3rd innings, a lot of that because of Longo's defense. You know, all the way around, it was a night where the Brewer fans were headed to the exits pretty early when Christian Walker hit the 2-run double in the 9th inning and it's a lot of fun to watch. It's a great environment here in Milwaukee. Everybody's geeked up about the playoffs being back, and I think for Diamondback fans, it's been since 2017. So it's a lot of fun. It's a great story. It's great being out here.
Yeah, it definitely. And I think that tonight with Zach Gallen going for the Diamondbacks, it really sets up, anytime it's in a winning situation and you've got your ace on the mound, I just think you've got, the leg up.
Well, sure. You can look at it one of two ways. The Diamondbacks throw the kid out and they win the game in game number one with the bullpen, and you expect that Zach Gallen's going to go out and get things done tonight. But let's be honest, he has not been as effective. Not to rain on Diamondback fans' parties. Everybody wants to be like, oh, negative Brad. No, it's fact. He wasn't very good in September by his standards. And so when you get into this point of the season, you'd like to see like he did at Chicago against the Cubs back in mid-September, a nice complete game. Get the bullpen rested up. Merrill Kelly pitches in Los Angeles on Saturday on game number one against the Dodgers. It all sets up nicely, Lee, but that's why they play the games. So
it definitely is. And Craig Counsell on the other side in that Milwaukee dugout, he's been there, done that as well. He knows what to do, but they are without who they thought was going to be their ace in the postseason. Woodruff did not pitch, or is not going to pitch. So what do you see on the Milwaukee side of things to try to answer back today?
Well, I think it's interesting out here. Craig Counsell's name is linked to the Mets job, and his contract is up. And so this could be it for him here tonight. And they announced the sellout last night. It wasn't sold out. There were a lot of empty seats. I don't know if it's fatigue here. This is as my Lyft driver said yesterday, this is a Bucks town. And the Brewers, there's people who are interested, but not nearly as much as they are with Giannis and what's going on. And thanks so much. It was a great ride. Have a good day. Live radio, right?
Exactly, live radio.
Yeah, you just hop out and get out of the lift, and there it is. There's the ballpark. I think on Milwaukee's end, there's just this. It's a small town. It's not like Phoenix or Arizona where you and I could sit here and do a half hour on the Suns or the Cardinals game Sunday against Cincinnati or ASU with Dion or U of A against USC. I think they're going to give them a good run. There's just so much going on in Arizona. And out here, everybody wears their Brewers jerseys and yay, go team. And it's fine. It's fine. But I don't feel like that this is a group of players that when you lose you lose with your ace on the mound and Corbin Burns, and then Woodruff, who you referred to earlier, Lee, goes down with the injury. I just feel like the air's kind of been let out of the balloon here, but that can all change in one inning where they go after Zach Gallen.
Right.
It just goes back to how do they respond? How do the Diamondbacks respond to this? I think they're playing their best baseball of the season, which is what you want when you come into postseason play. People say, well, they didn't hit the ball very well against Houston. Yeah, you know what? Those were tough games, and they're able to clinch, and guys were able to release a little bit. And they came in yesterday, and they took it to Milwaukee after that first inning and felt like they were in control.
Yeah,
Gabriel, you look at the way this thing's set up. Corbin Carroll's only 23. Marino's only 23. Fogg was a game one starter. He's not even 23. I mean, they're in a pretty good spot that for the next few years, you're not sitting there with Madison Bumgarner at a big contract trying to piece it together to put a team on the field to compete. They've gone about it the right way of paying these kids and drafting and trading away the guys that, were at the end of their careers or may have put butts in the seats but didn't put wins on the scoreboard.
Yeah. No, and they made some tough decisions this year, but I think it's all panned out to where they are now. And we're talking with Brad Cesmat from Sports 360 AZ, also live from Miller Park in Milwaukee. And you've been around a lot of baseball in your career. What's the feeling with this clubhouse of where they're at right now? You said they're playing their best baseball of the season, but just the feeling around the guys. What's the feeling in the clubhouse of how far this team thinks they can go this year?
Well, I go back to I got with the Diamondbacks in '98 when they first started. I was a pre and post game show host and all that stuff, and was on the air doing it when they won it all in 2001. And that team had a bunch of guys that were they held each other accountable. different sort of era, no social media, no look at me, none of that stuff. This team reminds me of them a little bit. Like Corbin Carroll hates the spotlight, Lee.
Yeah.
He's not about it. He hits a ball. That home run he hit last night was the 4th longest in the history of baseball among rookies. Aaron Judge is on that list in front of him. There's only 3 other guys that hit a ball further as a rookie in a playoff game. That's pretty cool.
Right.
And you know, after the game, he's sitting there with Christian Walker just talking with us, and the two of them are, you know, Corbin doesn't really want to be there. He's like the clubhouse attendant, like, get me out of here. And not in a negative way, but he doesn't like the spotlight. The team of 2001 that won it all, that was a great collection of veterans and guys that, you know, they'd be chapped on their backside if things didn't go their way. They had Todd Stottlemyre getting after guys, Randy and Kurt, and the personalities, a quiet guy like Matt Williams and Jay Bell and Tony Womack. And, you know, it was a great Mark Grace as a goofball. You know, you had a great mixture. On this team, you know, from what I can tell, and I'm not here every day, but what I've been able to tell in being around them this year is it starts with their skipper. Torey Lovello is very steady Eddie, and he's been here a long time now. This isn't a guy that's a flash in the pan. They're going to announce in about an hour they've extended Mike Hazen's contract as the general manager of the team. And why not when you look at the moves that he's made here this year? You know, the Gurriel Moreno trade with Toronto, that's an absolute fleecing. The pickup of Seawald late in the year. If they had this bullpen, think about it, Lee, if they had this bullpen under control by 1st of August rather than 1st of September, they probably are contending with the Dodgers for a number of victories, but the bullpen was coming out with a gas can and matches the first few months of the season.
Yeah,
they had 29 blown saves. They had 29 opportunities of games where they led, and the bullpen didn't get it done.
Yeah, I heard a stat last night that the Diamondbacks are the first team in baseball to play in the postseason who had at least a 9-game losing streak during the year.
Yeah,
and for them to even get in is because of the ups. The ups and downs weren't like little hills and valleys; they were like cliffs, and they were able to climb back out of it. And I think that also has helped get the fan base back. They were fun to watch this year.
No, they're fun. They're an embraceable group. I was in. I dropped my son off at college in August, and
which, by the way, makes me feel really old, Brad.
Yeah, well, that's the way it goes. But we drove back down through Aspen, and I texted Ken Kendrick, the owner of the team, and we met up for breakfast at Aspen. And this is mid-August, and he's like, "Oh, I don't know if we're gonna make it," you know. And now I'm supposed to see him here today. He's here in Milwaukee today, and I'm going to give him the business about it. Like, even you weren't into this thing. Come on, man. Even you were thinking it wasn't going to come through. But that's the beauty of sports. When I like the fact that it's an owner who's realistic. I can't handle owners. They're like, everything's great. No, it's not.
Yeah. We have eyes. We have ears. We know it's not.
Fans are not dumb. When a team stinks, they stink. Say they stink. Fix it or get out. We don't want to be told that things are. And this is a group that Zach Allen's going to get a huge contract. He's going to get a huge contract. Okay, so you have an ace. And you have Merrill Kelly, who's turned into a number 2. Maybe he's a 3. Maybe you can upgrade that. But you have a plethora of young players in this offseason that if you decided, and I'm not for trading a kid like Alec Thomas. You've got some guys now that other teams are going to want, and you could go out there and piece together that go get that veteran pitcher to put in the number 2 slot or the number 3 slot. Because I think they're probably a starter away, and then Fott next year you look at and say, okay, he's going to be your 3 or your 4. And there's other arms down on the, Tommy Henry got hurt during this year. Jameson got hurt during this year. So they've got a lot of options. It's an optimistic time to follow the baseball team. It really is, and it's fun.
Yeah, it really is. And I appreciate you taking some time on your way to the ballpark today to jump on here with us today and catch us up to date of what the sights and sounds are of Milwaukee. One last question before you go. What's ASU football the rest of the season?
Let's see. I like Kenny Dillingham a lot. He's inherited an absolute dumpster fire. it's an embarrassment that the president of the university and the athletic director let this thing sit there for 2 years and didn't do a thing about it. Oh, everything's great. No, it's not. We can all see it. So they're paying. Kenny's paying for the sins of what happened in the past. U of A's lapped them. Remember a few years ago when Kevin Sumlin was at U of A, and just the Wildcats, they were a dumpster fire. They were the worst program in Division I football.
Mm-hmm.
And now Jed Fish has them turned in the right direction. They have a litmus test game at USC on Saturday night in prime time. So, and Dion's coming to the Valley this week. It's fine, but Kenny's undermanned. He's in a sword fight with a piece of spaghetti, Lee. That's the only way I can put it.
That's a great way to put it. That's a great way to put that. Well, Brad, I appreciate your time. Enjoy the game tonight. Hopefully the Diamondbacks get it done in 2 and can take a couple of nights off.
Anytime that Lee Patterson texts, well, I won't say 2 a.m. Anytime Lee Patterson texts, you're a legend, man. You're kicking butt down there, and you've done it for years and years and years, and you're a great service to people in the community. And it's good to hear from you. Anytime, Lee.
Well, I appreciate it. Thanks for your time today, Brad. Enjoy the game.
See ya.
That is Brad Cesmat. He is, you've probably heard him on The Morning for years here on KATO with Skyview, as well as his website, Sports 360 AZ. We're going to take one more break. We'll come back to wrap up the show here on Overtime right after this. Welcome back to Overtime. Lee Patterson with you. Thanks for joining us today on Overtime. Again, our thanks to Brad Cesmat, who joined us live from Miller Park in Milwaukee with the preview of tonight's game, Diamondbacks game, which you can hear at 3:30 is when the pregame show will start today with Chris Garagiola. And then we'll jump into play-by-play, combo play-by-play with Chris Garagiola and the governor, who is in his final season. They named the press box after him over at the ballpark, too, as well. Don't forget the Safford Round Valley game tomorrow night at Safford High School. That will be our game of the week this week. We will have, depending on when the Diamondbacks play on Saturday, should they win tonight against the Dodgers, Diamondbacks will take preference the rest of the way since they are in the playoffs. So if you're looking for a Diamondbacks game, it will be on here on the radio. ASU and the Cardinals this weekend as well. And on our sister station, Sunny 102.3, you can hear U of A and USC, as you heard Brad say, in a litmus test game to see what they do at USC for the Wildcats. That'll do it for us here today. Thanks for joining us on Overtime. We will be back next Wednesday with more of the same. Have a good one. Enjoy the county fair this weekend as well. If be careful when you're out there. Going to be a big crowd. And watch for the traffic. And enjoy the weekend. The weather's cooling off, just enough to make it a nice, cool weekend. So enjoy it and be safe. Have a good one.